Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matt, I am the American-Canadian Gamer, and welcome back to my Halo 5 wishlist. And today, we're going to talk about weapons that I want to see in Halo 5 and just some other things revolving around those weapons. And if you're wondering why you're seeing Halo 3 footage and not Halo 4 multiplayer or just multiplayer footage in general, it's because my internet is being stupid right now and I can't really play online. So I hope you enjoy the footage that you're seeing from Halo 3 single player. But I want to talk about Halo 5 weapons. I want to talk about what I want to see, what I want them to bring back from Halo 3, and what I want to see them get rid of from Halo 4, because Halo 4 added a bunch of weapons, but a lot of those weapons were added in order to facilitate the loadout system that they implemented, like the Storm Rifle, the Suppressor, the Light Rifle. A lot of those weapons really had no business existing in the first place outside of the fact that the game now had a loadout-based system. So, what this means is now we have a bunch of really duplicate weapons, or at least, not really duplicate, but weapons that are very similar to each other that aren't going to have a purpose anymore because there's not going to be a loadout. Yeah, the light rifle is different than the battle rifle and the DMR, but really there's very, very similar. And Halo has always been known for having a very diverse arsenal of weapons, and so they're going to have to do a lot of cuts and a lot of changes in order to make this arena setup work. You know, they're going to have to do a lot of stuff to make the arena setup work with these weapons. They're going to have to change a lot of them and get rid of some of them, probably. But let's talk about a couple other things first. First of all, one thing I really want them to bring back is dual-wielding. Dual-wielding in Halo 2 was one of the defining features and was such an amazing aspect of the game. It's the first game that I remember, other than GoldenEye. I know GoldenEye had it, but I mean, having like an implemented dual-wielding system where you could swap out the weapon in your offhand and etc., etc., the first one I really remember taking advantage of that is Halo 2. And, you know, able to put a plasma rifle in one hand, a plasma pistol in the other, or, you know, swap it out for a Magnum, have a couple SMGs. That was a really fun aspect, and I don't really understand fully why they got rid of it at this point. I mean, I've heard them say different things, like some people thought it was overpowered. They thought dual wielding removed the guns, grenade, melee dynamic from the game, so they wanted to keep that in there, but I think that dual wielding does have a place in the game, and I think it is something that could draw back older players that have abandoned the game since Reach. And it would mean that they would have to bring back weapons that they have gotten rid of, because they replaced the plasma rifle with the storm rifle for loadout purposes. They didn't have the submachine gun for some odd reason, well, mainly because they had the suppressor, and there's a bunch of dual-wield weapons they could bring back. They need to bring back the plasma rifle, they need to bring back the submachine gun, and they need to bring back the spiker. The spike rifle, the brute spike rifle, was an amazing weapon. Yeah, it was slow and everything, but it just had a nice punch and a weight to it. And it was so satisfying to use, and it's one of my favorite weapons in Halo. I love the spike rifle, and just brute weapons in general are just awesome to use because they have that kind of tribal element to them where they're, you know, banded with leather and they have these big bayonets on them. They're, you know, they're really savage weapons. We need to bring the brute shot back. We need to bring back the mauler. And we could also add other brute weapons. Oh yeah, we can bring back the spike grenade while we're at it. The spike grenade is a weapon that I was missing, and I was wondering, why is this not in Halo 4? Because I mean, I know the Dual-Wield were not in, the brutes, they were not in Halo 4, but they had encountered them in the past, and you think that the UNSC would have put brute weaponry into the training program, in the War Games program, in order to train the new Spartans in their weaponry in case they ever came across the brutes again. You think that would have been a thing that they did, but they didn't. They just didn't, and I want to see brute weaponry come back. I want to see that side of them. Even if brutes, well, I guess brutes would have to be in the game now to make it work because they don't have that War Games, although they could add, if they add another sort of like holographic simulator like they had in the UNSC Infinity, then they need to bring back brute weapons. That would be the perfect excuse to do it, and I'd want to see them do that. Brute weapons need to come back, and dual-wielding needs to come back. And, you know, bringing back those one-handed weapons and some other weapons does raise some questions. The plasma rifle and the storm rifle, they're very similar, and they don't really need to simultaneously exist within the same game. Kind of the way that the plasma rifle and the brute plasma rifle did not have to exist in Halo 2. You know, they would either have to cut one or kind of modify it a little differently. You know, maybe make a new plasma rifle that's kind of a hybrid of the Storm and the plasma rifle, in at least its looks. Because the Storm rifle, I wouldn't use it unless they really buffed it up to be something completely different, more like a pulse rifle. But at the moment, I would rather have the standard dual-wieldable plasma rifle instead of the Storm rifle. And as for the suppressor, I don't want to see it come back at all. The suppressor was just an abysmal weapon. I mean, it had its uses here and there. It was really good in, like, King of the Hill, where, you know, you force people to get within melee range. But in every 99% of the situations, the assault rifle was better than both the Storm rifle and the suppressor. The assault rifle was just the better weapon. So I think the suppressor either needs to become a dual-wieldable weapon, or it just needs to get replaced with the submachine gun. Because the submachine gun is another, like, staple Halo weapon. That 9... I think it's, what was the size? It was like, it wasn't 9mm submachine gun. I can't remember. It was a really strange caliber, a really strange ammunition size. I can't remember it off the top of my head. I don't have it in front of me. But the submachine gun, just that bullet hose effect, I loved that. That needs to come back, and the suppressor is basically that weapon, just without the hit scan. I would rather have the submachine gun over the suppressor. So that begs the question, what do they do with the suppressor? Well, let's kind of put the suppressor to the side right now. Let's talk a bit about the light rifle. Now, the light rifle doesn't really have a place in arena multiplayer when you have both the DMR and battle rifle available to players. The battle rifle is just a really good weapon, the DMR is a solid weapon, and the light rifle, I think, just doesn't seem to fit very well inside that arena dynamic. But what they could do, in my mind, they could attempt to do this, is they could attempt to combine the light rifle and the suppressor, because this is something Halo doesn't have. A weapon that's automatic with a scope that changes its rate of fire. Now, it could be even just, you know, it's automatic as a suppressor, then you zoom in, and then it either fires a burst or it fires one powerful shot. And what I would like to see is they make it like, say, a 48 round magazine. You know, 48 rounds, and when you just regular fire is 1 round per shot, but when you zoom in and you take a shot, maybe it's 8 rounds per shot, and they're just much more powerful, but it still has that line, that beam, that tracer that people can see. That is something that I think would be pretty awesome, was to have a weapon that's automatic and long range. And what you can do is, you can make it so it suffers in mid-range, because it has that automatic for close range. It has pretty good, pseudo-good mid to long range because of the light rifle effect, but it would still suffer when compared to weapons that are specialized for those events. But it could be such a thing as you're putting fire on a guy, he runs away, then you zoom in and pick him off, or you're zoomed in on a guy and you shoot him, but then he shoots you, which forces you to de-scope, which they need to bring back de-scoping, by the way. Forces you to de-scope, or you just choose to, and then you just unload on him with an automatic weapon. Don't make it dual-wieldable, make it a single wield, and then make the submachine gun the replacement for the old, or the, you know, current suppressor style, where it's just this bullet hose of a weapon, and then make that dual-wieldable. That is my kind of suggestion for the whole light rifle thing. And there are other weapons, like the incineration cannon. I think it can stay, because it's kind of a different style of rocket launcher. Like, it's kind of the same thing, but it's not something you see a lot. What they do is, if they make the rocket launcher have its lock-on more prevalent like it used to, the rocket launcher and the incineration cannon could survive simultaneously with each other. Because what you have is, you have the rocket launcher, which has the capability to lock onto targets, and it can take out aerial vehicles really well, take out regular vehicles really well, and it's, you know, it's pretty good against players. And then you have the incineration cannon, which cannot lock on, has a slower projectile, but is far more powerful and has a slower rate of fire. Those two can exist simultaneously, and you would really only see the incineration cannon, you know, you would see it on smaller maps and on bigger, you know, big team battle setups, and the rocket launcher would be that kind of anti-vehicle weapon. They could exist simultaneously. I could see that happen. The ones that I can't see happening are the shotgun and the scatter shot. The scatter shot is the one that I don't know what they could do with, because the scatter shot fills such a similar role to the shotgun. It's just, it's better too. It's a better weapon, it has a much higher rate of fire, you can ricochet the rounds, and, you know, the shotgun, yeah, the shotgun's a little deadlier, But if you miss a shot with the shotgun, it's like, oh, well, now I gotta wait for it to pump. But if you miss a shot with the scatter shot, it's like, oh, I'll just pull the trigger again, and you take the guy down. Those two I cannot see existing side by side with each other. They would have to either cut either the shotgun or the scatter shot, and I think they would probably keep the shotgun, because the shotgun for Halo is much more iconic because, you know, it loads from the top. It's a much different design than we see in any other first-person shooter, and the scatter shot just kind of exists. I don't know what they could do with that. If you can think of something they could do with the scatter shot, put that down in the comments, because maybe somebody here has a better idea than what I have for that weapon. Although what they could do is there's a weapon in Xenotic. It's kind of a plasma rifle, and it fires a cluster of energy pulses, energy orbs, and they fire out in a very set pattern, like a shotgun blast, and then if you hold the button when you fire it, when you release it, I think this is how it works, the clusters come together into one orb in the center and then scatter out like an explosion. So you can kind of use that effect to manipulate the shots a little bit, and it's not as reliable as like a straight-up shotgun, but it's still a neat little mechanic, and I think that's something they could bring into Halo 5 a little bit if they so desired. But at this point, I don't think the shotgun and the scatter shot could exist simultaneously. Now, as for the binary rifle, that's a different story entirely. I think the binary rifle can exist alongside the sniper rifle and the beam rifle. I think the weapons have to be kind of rebalanced a little bit more. I think the sniper rifle was somewhat lacking in Halo 4 because the beam rifle was just overall, I think, much better because of its rate of fire, and you just didn't have to unscope, and the binary rifle just one-shot kills. Just insane. I feel like the sniper rifle is kind of lacking. I feel like the sniper rifle could kind of come back with a little bit more of an anti-vehicle focus, and the binary rifle could also have that, but, you know, just has a much, you know, smaller mag and slower rate of fire than its predecessor does. And the beam rifle, there's that triple dynamic that I don't know how they should handle. I almost think that they should get rid of the beam rifle, replace it with the focus rifle, keep the sniper rifle, and maybe keep the binary rifle. I think that's how they should do it, because the focus rifle from Halo Reach, yeah, a lot of people didn't like it. I personally loved the thing. It had a nice little dynamic to it that separated it from the other sniper rifle. That was one problem I have with the beam rifle and the sniper rifle in like Halo 2, 3, and 4, is that the sniper rifle and the beam rifle felt so similar. They felt so similar, and the focus rifle was such a nice reprieve from that. This focus rifle was a different weapon. It required a different skill set, and it was just really fun to use. Was it great? Nah, the sniper rifle was better, but they could find something to do with it. It doesn't mean that it has to be a copy-pasted one from Halo Reach. They can rebalance it to make it competitive with the sniper rifle and the binary rifle, and the binary rifle would have its major drawbacks of the major, you know, the red lines and the tracers and a lot of other things that people don't really realize are actually drawbacks of a weapon, because they give away your position consistently. And that's really bad when you're trying to snipe. And, you know, one other thing they could do is the binary rifle, maybe it can't be fired from the hip. Do what they did with the Machina in Team Fortress 2. Just make it so you can't fire the binary rifle from the hip. You actually have to zoom in with it in order to fire it. That would bring another balancing element. Then it could be much more powerful than the sniper rifle, but it has to be zoomed in so you can't get those hip shots. And then you have the focus rifle, which is really good from the hip, but also can zoom in. And then you have the sniper rifle, which would be like a halfway point. Good against vehicles, can be fired from the hip and from the scope, but isn't as directly powerful as the other two in those other areas, but is much more flexible. Then you can hit that nice dynamic. That's probably the best way to do it. And I think that's really all I want to say. Oh no, the Spartan laser needs to be rebalanced, because it is a piece of junk, I feel like, right now. I feel like either it takes too long to charge, or you just don't get enough benefit from the actual shot when you do fire it. But I feel like the Spartan laser is somewhat lacking at the moment. And other weapons that could stand to go. Really, I can't think of any others. The gravity hammer needs to... Well, the gravity hammer did come back. I don't know why I was thinking of that. But I think overall, we need to bring back some of the arsenal from Halo 2 and Halo 3 and Halo Reach as well, in order to kind of buff up what we have, because we're going back to that arena setup. We've seen a lot of neat things added in Halo 4, but we need more. I feel like Halo 4's loadout system could have benefited from more weapons and equipment. I feel like Halo 4 could have had the submachine gun, plasma rifle, and spiker as secondary weapons. I feel like that could have been a thing. Yeah, they would need rebalancing, definitely, but they could have been secondary weapons. They could have added dual wielding. They could have added a perk that, you know, you start with 2 secondaries dual wielding instead of a primary. They could have added that as well. There are so many things they could have done that they didn't do, and I think they need to really take advantage of Halo's extensive arsenal that already exists and put it into Halo 5, because without that, they're not going to draw back a lot of older players. They're doing the arena thing, but right now they're taking the first step. They need to go that extra mile in order to really get it hook, line, and sinker at this point, so hopefully, we will learn much more of that in the days to come, and we'll see greater things added to Halo 5's multiplayer. But until then, we can only hope. So down in the comment section, let me know what you want to see in Halo 5. Like, in terms of weaponry, like, is there anything you want to see added? Maybe there's a weapon from the lore you want to see added. You know, there's all sorts of things that we could see. So just let me know down below. And, oh, the saw! I forgot all about the saw. The saw can stay as a power weapon. I could see that on the map. You know, there's a lot of weapons that could stay. The sticky deck could stay. There's a lot of stuff that could stay just as power weapons on the map. But as I was saying, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt, and I'll see you next time.